Hey guys, it's Sick here. I don't have time to get set up and do a big old Let's Play video, so I'm instead gonna do one of these videos. Because it's Dungeons & Dragons, or D&D December, which is what Pro Jared called it, and I'm a fan of him, I decided that I'm gonna share with you my first ever time playing Dungeons & Dragons. I'm new to the Dungeons & Dragons scene. In total, I've had 4 sessions as a player, and I'm coming up to session 8, I think, as a Dungeon Master. So I am pretty inexperienced. But this is about the first time I played it. Specifically, it involves the Dungeon Master. So my first time playing Dungeons & Dragons, it was actually Pathfinder that I played. I played a half-orc barbarian known as Grom, and that was based off the character I had created in the MMORPG Dungeons & Dragons Online, which, if you want to count that as my first Dungeons... Well, actually, no, that wouldn't even be my first Dungeons & Dragons experience if you include, like, video games. That would be Forgotten Realms Demon Stone. Anyway... so I was thinking it was going to be a level 1 or a level 5 or a level 10. No, it turned out it was level 20 plus, I think, for heroic. There was like this post 20 leveling system of 12. And I think it was like every 4 levels you got, you could gain 1 level in it or something complicated like that. So we're talking super late game. And so I decided, I went ahead, against my better judgment, I made my character, I put the points into his stats, I decided to make Grom be a grappler. He had a lot of feats that would allow him to grapple opponents, using them as clubs and such. And when it came to items, the DM gave me items that made my stats just absurd. I don't remember the exact number, but I think by the end of it, I had well over 700 HP just based on, like, my stats that I was given. So that was a bit crazy. So I went ahead, it was me and 4 other people. We started out in this town, and it went pretty well. First encounter, I was able to make use of my grappling ability by strangling a gnome to unconsciousness, which ironically spared that gnome from death. And then I wasn't able to get to the next session because I had university to deal with. So the next one I showed up, something must have really advanced really far, because next thing you know, we were in a haunted woods, and one of our characters, I think he was a wizard, had just been instantly killed by a creature he decided to chase. So we were going on with the... it was still 4 of us, because another one of us had showed up partway through, and I guess the Dungeon Master last session found a way to write him into the story on a in a very quick manner. And then so we got to the encounter. The encounter was about 11 giant ents, and these were, I think these were classified as gigantic creatures. So we started this fight. And I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna, because I had these special like chains. These chains allowed me to grapple any creature, and I wouldn't have a disadvantage. No matter, like, I could grapple a gargantuan creature when I'm a small creature, and I wouldn't have any disadvantages. It would essentially be, I would be wrapping the chains around them and grappling them. And so I did that. I was able to restrain one of the ends, and then I decided, well, hang on a minute. This lets me use... I can use things... I asked if I could swing the ent around. DM said no. Alright. This thing was about 2 size classes bigger than me, so I could totally understand that. So I went ahead and I did an attack instead. And I dealt 63 damage, which... non-crit as well, so... that would be impressive by, normal D&D standards. And I was impressed with myself. I was thinking, great, I can really contribute to this fight. I can restrain ents when I need to, and I can deal some damage when I have to. I can debuff them. And then one of the other party members stepped forward. Now, this party member, my friend kept going on and on about his crit stick. He was like, oh no, his crit stick does insane damage. So, he goes ahead, he does an attack, and lo and behold, he crits. So after literally about 10 minutes of him doing math, he deals 1,956 damage to this ant, this giant ant. He deals nearly 2,000 damage to him, and instantly kills him. Great. These creatures clearly have over 1,000 health. It would take me at least 20 hits, and I've only got like 1 or 2 attacks. So that's just great. You know, that's just fantastic. I'm so glad I can contribute. So I went with my other alternative. I had a spear that if I critted, they would have to make a wisdom saving throw, or they would instantly die. So I go ahead, I make 1 attack, hits, 15 damage, or so. I go again. I crit. He makes me roll to confirm it. I don't get the confirm. I don't really get the roll to confirm thing. If you hit a crit, if you roll 20, then you've critted. That's how I see it. But still, because it was a 20, it still had to make a wisdom saving throw, and it failed, so I was able to kill something. But then, a couple of, like a few of the play turns later, this little, I think it was a gnome or a halfling, like dispelled this. It was an illusion, which, looking back at it now, it makes me rather confused, because if this was an illusion, and because these were actual, like, the townspeople that we were killing, we weren't aware of it. If that was the case, then why is it that a townsperson was able to... Apparently my character killed a child. So apparently this was a really fucking tough child, because it was fine with after being hit for 63 points of damage. And that then asks the question, if it's an illusion, then surely I would have been able to lift up the child and start just beating people over the head with it. And that's when I found out that this DM is not a control freak. I don't think control freak is the right word, but screw it, I can't think of a good other word for it, so I'm just gonna use control freak. He would always want things to go his way. Like, if you try to go against it, or if you were able to succeed, like this is what my friends told me. If you were able to go against the DM's wishes, like if you want something to happen, then he would just overrule it. So let's say, for example, you I'm trying to think of an example. He uses a wish. One of them uses a wish to make this god his friend. And rather than saying, oh, the wish wasn't, the wish cannot work on celestial beings, he was just like, nope, overruled, it doesn't work. Like, he was in that, he said it in that kind of tone where it's like, no, you are not allowed to have fun. You will, he basically wanted to make a non-linear game linear. And basically after that, I did not play any more sessions with that guy. Eventually I ran on to find another person to DM. We did a session of that. That was pretty fun. And then after that, I started up my own series, the Elder Rolls, I'm calling it. And that's where I'm DMing. But I know there's a lot more stories involving that DM, which hopefully I can get a hold of someday. But that was my first experience in Dungeons & Dragons, technically Pathfinder.